Yvonne, I'm going to pass to you.
Excellent. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. I guess we're the virtual participants in the conference. None of us actually in New York. I'm saying hello to you from sunny Los Angeles, actually Playa Vista to be exact. My name is Ivan Perez-Armendariz, and I'm the head of digital experience at Deutsch, and I've spent most of my career in advertising, primarily on the tech side of creative agencies. And by tech, I would say tech-driven storytelling. So focused on strategy and creative to develop innovation opportunities for the brands on the roster. And this talk is called the AI Assisted Mindset. And it's a talk that we originally gave to our agency at the beginning of the year to kind of set us up for this freight train that was generative AI that was really knocking at the door. And since then, it's been adapted over and over again. You can imagine with all the changes happening on a week-to-week basis. And but it still sort of holds true from like the original thesis of like AI is coming. How should I prepare? And sort of this is our point of view that we've shared within the agency with all of our clients, and as well as the industry through various talks with the 4As. And so, kind of start off just talking about this as a topic. And it's an emotional topic. Like people have mixed feelings at best about AI. And I would say that, when you combine that 32% both excited and anxious with anxious, it's clearly something that is not yet a net positive in terms of how people feel about it. And I think it gets even more concerning when you start to think about impact on jobs. And that was kind of the first question that we wanted to answer in this is like, is AI going to come and take my job? And I think from the series of slides that you'll see here, there's a point of view on that, and we'll get to it. That said, if you are super concerned after this talk and still not comfortable with this point of view, there's actually a site called willrobotstakemyjob.com, and you actually enter a role, and it has some level of calculation that determines the probability of robots taking your job. I think this is a bit of a wink, but I've used it a few times just to get screenshots, and it's taking itself very seriously. So it might be something worth checking out. I think one of the big reasons that AI has basically hit sort of such an emotional state relative to other technologies, it's just is based on the perceived impact that it's going to have based on other game-changing technologies that we've lived through the sort of release of and adoption of. This is not NFTs. This is not AR, VR, not even EVs. AI sort of takes the cake in terms of perceived impact on society. And there's no question that probably the people that are in this column in this conference are the most impacted. Millennial and Gen Z make up the biggest part of the audience mix of users. And so when we think about what these initial use cases are, and we'll get to use cases that are related to strategy towards the end as a little bit of an on-ramp to a few strategy hacks. But at a high level, people are still sort of getting comfortable with search, brainstorming, and art, the creation of graphics. And what's extraordinary, and also somewhat ties to the previous sort of ambivalence around this, is that almost across all these use cases, so whether you're writing an article, doing music, coding, email, so knowledge workers of all different types, almost all of them, or I'd say all of them, thought that AI made their work better versus AI made the work worse. So on the one hand, there's anxiety. On the other hand, there's a clear advantage here, and something that is difficult to ignore, especially if you're trying to level up your game. And so it's no surprise that while we're trying to learn what these tools do, these tools themselves are evolving really rapidly. So when ChatGPT came out earlier this year, it had this brain called GPT-3, and it had 175 billion training parameters. Fast forward from March to today, and we have this thing called GPT-4. And as far as I know, the only difference is that it has a trillion training parameters, i.e. a lot smarter and able to do more complex things. And then, as I understand it, before the end of 2023, we'll be at GPT-5, which is 17.5 trillion training parameters. That's a lot of tech advancement to see on a tool that you are only starting to experiment and understand how to use. And I think that also adds to this feeling of confusion. And so that's just one tool from one company called GPT from OpenAI. The reality of it is that each one of these different generative AI horizontals, text, video, image, speech, 3D code, they all have different large language models behind them. And not only are all of those improving, but they're also competing against other big tech companies, whether it's Google, Meta, or OpenAI. And that's across just one vertical. And then you imagine all the advancements that are happening in video, the advancements that are happening in images and speech, and it starts to just become somewhat overwhelming and sort of further kind of leads to this anxiety. And if that's not enough, there's a group called the Center for AI Safety that recently published a list of signatories that are basically scientists and notable figures. And it's the who's who of everyone in tech and academia that has signed this thing. And it's basically their pledge says mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war. So that's a lot to take on. You have people that know a lot more about this than us that are saying, hey, let's pump the brakes. Yet at the same time, the technology is improving at an unfettered rate, and there's an explosion in the different number of tools that are available to us. Nonetheless, the reality of it is that we still need to lean in and start to understand how to approach AI in terms of our workflows. And so what we did at our agency was we gave everyone OpenAI credentials, and that gives you access to DALL-E and ChatGPT and allows you to start experimenting. And so one of the things that I think is really important for people on this call is to understand what is your organization's IT policy around the tools that you can and can't access, and what are the rules and regulations with respect to legal and business affairs around using these tools. Because once we have access to them, the question then becomes what can we do and what can't we do. And we'll see that the legal question is just another thing that's adding to the emotions of this whole topic. And so one of the things we did when we got our credentials for everyone in the agency is establish right away that you have to level up your prompting game. I've used this graphic a lot. I've found both of these graphics on the internet right around the same time. The one on the left was a meme, salmon in the river, and so majestic, kind of laughing at AI, kind of how dumb it still is. And the one on the right won an art contest with a gentleman who basically groomed his keywords for 80 straight hours, i.e. his prompts for 80 straight hours, and then wouldn't disclose them. And so to me, it was super clear that like, this is the mindset shift that needs to happen. It's going from this, which it turns out that's not dumb AI. Those are just bad prompts, to starting to approach this on the right. I'm not sure I will ever approach anything on the right. That said, I think the AI assisted mindset shift is about that evolution, and specifically for strategists and all knowledge workers, it's going from thinking of yourself as a strategist to thinking of yourself as a strategist editor. And so what I mean by that is that all knowledge workers are basically going to have an opportunity to use various different AIs, some of them multimodal, some just one use, and you are becoming more of an editor than you are necessarily an original creation. I think about AI as sort of my way to get to a first draft. And then the first draft obviously has so many iterations through various different inputs to get to that final product, which is mine. But it is much more of the process of being an editor than the original creator kind of holding on to this draft and wanting to keep it as similar to the original as possible. And so prompts are basically the way to establish a really high quality first draft. And it's so important, in fact, that there are now specific roles within our agency, within our tech team. We've added prompt engineering to basically the job description of our engineers. But at companies like Google, these are $300,000 a year paying jobs. without requiring any sort of computer science background. And so from a prompting tip standpoint, I'm not sure how much you're using ChatGPT. The typical process is you ask it to write a haiku or tell you a joke. And because you think of it as generative content, which is supposed to be entertaining, but the fact is it can churn through content in ways that are really profound in terms of the productivity that strategists need to do from the standpoint of research and insights. So summarizing a PDF in the form of a multiple choice quiz. I did this with my son. He had a quiz on the Industrial Revolution, and we copy and pasted the PDF into it and asked it to do the quiz, and it did a 30-point multiple choice quiz, and that's how we learned it. From a biz dev standpoint, summarize this earnings report in the form of a cold outreach email to the CMO of a company. And what it's going to generate an email, and it'll probably have 3 or 4 insightful nuggets that came specifically from that earnings report. And these I think are things that lead to those first drafts and starting to adopt this AI assisted mindset. When you think about content that we take to market, we have a DIY client, and they have an article on their site that's about how to get rid of crickets. And it went through the whole process of content strategy, into the writing, into sourcing graphics, into taking it to a subject matter expert to approve. And so we had ChatGPT with a fairly detailed prompt give us a version of that it was able to spit out in like 5 minutes. And it wasn't done there. At the end, we asked it to actually develop a second version in Spanish. So undoubtedly an accelerant. And once this is connected to a product API, you can actually develop this with specific product recommendations, and then leave the article up to be conversational. You can actually chat with the article and say, hey, tell me what for point 3, can you give me more information? And now this article is interactive in a way that wasn't possible before. From a prompting framework standpoint, in terms of a takeaway of how to get the best results, I think the idea of identifying the speaker that tells the LLM sort of where to go in its knowledge base to provide the answer, obviously the question, and then some sort of output or caveat. So act as a celebrity vegan chef, speaker. Give me a 3-day meal plan for 4 people. Question. Include recipes, shopping lists, and time-saving hacks. That's a very different subject matter expert than act as a cognitive behavioral therapist. Lead me in a therapy session focused on why I'm afraid of public speaking. So speaker, question, and output tends to generate really solid first iterations. And then after that, you are iterating your way to something that is maybe more valuable to you. From an image standpoint, I don't have a lot of background in this. I don't have an art background. And so even the prompts, even a framework probably doesn't help me very much because I don't have the visual language specific to like high resolution, dramatic light, 8K action shot. But this is a prompt in Midjourney that generated this actual drill. And this is using Midjourney through Discord. And it also has on top of it even pop-up and blend features that are significant opportunities for accelerants if you happen to have this language. You guys have probably seen thousands of images like this. This is another example of keywords and language that are sort of the bar in order to achieve these types of visual outputs. And so when we think about we have the tools, we know we need to level up our prompting game, but now that gives us opportunities as agency professionals to work in entirely new ways. And so, yes, that does lead to continued AI anxiety, and it's hard to even keep up with all of the different tools. I can tell you that I'm in this topic probably nonstop, and I've maybe worked on I've maybe recognized or have used 3 of these tools. But certainly just trying to keep up is basically impossible. And so one of the things that's impacting us at our agency creatively is all of the different ways in which these engines can generate content and how they disrupt our workflow. So this is an example, came out a while ago. So this is a guy named Ghostwriter who started releasing Drake tracks without Drake's voice and with 100% original music. And so it turns out the music industry has no protection against this. So there's a new way of going to market to get millions of views on YouTube that is 100% legal, but clearly not entirely right. And so it went so far that actually the generated song was submitted for Grammy consideration. And it turns out that the Grammy has declined and essentially said only music developed by humans will be able to win Grammy consideration. That said, it seems likely that there will be AI-driven voice and music things that pop culture accepts as real and as valid that may test this over time. How does it impact us? Well, we do a ton of VO for internal videos, obviously for production ready video, and there are voice markets that are emerging that have people and voices, none of which are real. This photo and these voices are
Stand
not
before
real.
you to remind each and every one of you of the incredible power that lies within you.
Welcome to the future of transportation, the all-new electric-powered car.
No more boring voiceovers. Our voice generation is highly emotional. Feel the sadness, anger, and love in our voice.
Code. This is something that hits near home. This was one of my first interactions with ChatGPT. I asked it to basically give me the code for animating a butterfly fluttering across my browser screen. And since it was the first time I'd used it, I was blown away. And I'd never seen this formatting structure where it spits out code that's colored and puts everything in variables and comments, and then actually gives you a configuration paragraph letting you know, like, hey, if you want to move it faster, if you want to make the butterfly bigger, this is how it works. No one would actually code in this way. That's not a new way of working. The new way of working is using Copilot, which is your AI pair programmer that can actually take 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 to take one line of code that you're writing and predict 1, 3 to up to 10 lines of code that you would be doing next. And there's no programmer that I've spoken with that doesn't sort of marvel at how well it can predict. And so what does that mean for programmers? They're probably the first ones through this shoot to AI assisted mindset. And this quote captures it perfectly. AI writes 80% of my code with 80% accuracy. I don't really even code anymore. I prompt and I edit. And that's what we mean by AI assisted mindset, is becoming more comfortable as an editor with the first draft and sort of knowing how to get from that to something that could even be of higher quality than you would have gotten to yourself, or getting there significantly faster. Copilot, amazingly, is a Microsoft brand that initially started for programming, but it's about to be rolled out to every single one of their Office products. So now that hits all of us. So if you're writing an email, if you're doing a PowerPoint deck, I know a lot of people don't really use PowerPoint anymore. If you're using Word, Copilot will be built in and it'll start doing these predictive things. So whether you like it or not, you're going to have to confront the editing process, because the AI is basically going to be inserted into your workflow. Right now, we still have to go seek the AI to bring it into our workflow, but it's not too long before it comes to us, and now we have to determine how we're going to leverage it. Image, obviously, we've seen a ton of this stuff. At the end of the day, the starting point for an image is different than the original starting point. Back to this first draft and editor concept. Same thing with this sort of age-old notion of getting things at the highest resolution possible because you can't upscale. Well, AI is perfect for upscaling. It could take the lowest resolution image and just use pattern matching to create basically no limit to a level of resolution within an image that may have started from a photocopy of an 80s Polaroid. This is someone that works in my office who has never spoken a word of Spanish in his life. Wait. I'm not sure why that's not playing. Well, basically, this is a video. It's supposed to be a video called, it's made by HeyGen. And so what you do is you speak into the video in English, and in the background, it processes it, and then it gives you an output video. And it translates your speech to Spanish, and then it takes your jaw and it moves your jaw to make it look like you're saying the Spanish word, which is different than the jar recording that you did when speaking the English word. And so there are a lot of fundamental potential applications for this. And ultimately, it can be done just while sitting at home. So is this legal? There are lots of reasons why that question is not entirely known. There are many clouds over a lot of this, which is why within our agency, we've been adopting AI tools for research, insights, concepting, comps, but really it's all to get to the point of building production-ready art. And once we build production-ready art, it's a net new start. And I would say it's almost like the done in a lot of ways the old-fashioned way, and that's because the indemnification that a lot of these tools provide, the risk of infringement because of how all this technology was created is too high to necessarily adopt these tools for production-ready art. But we know that a lot of our work is not getting to production-ready art; it's getting to client meetings and presentations. The big question is going to be, were these AIs trained with publicly accessible content? And it's looking like the answer is going to be yes. You're allowed to scrape the internet. Google scrapes the internet and creates a commercial product. AI is scraping the internet and creating a commercial product. Now, you're not allowed to scrape things that said, please don't scrape me, or have like a password. And it turned out a lot of these AIs did that and went around it. So it's almost like, yes, mostly they did it right, but they also did some things wrong, and that'll need to be dealt with. But in the future, scraping publicly available internet data to train AI will be commonplace. And then the second is, hey, this output that it creates, if it came from learning on stuff that is copywritten, how can it possibly generate an output, and how can you charge a commercial license for it? There's also a Google case where in search results, they will take a header image from an article that's not theirs and make a thumbnail of it in their search results. And the courts ruled that that was a big enough change to where it was admissible. So there's a path for all of the output of AI also being protected from infringement, but these cases haven't happened yet. And so in all cases, I think the line is anything where we're getting production ready. But it's such a concern that sites like this have popped up. This is similar to like, will robots take my job? Have I been trained? And if you're an artist or a writer or have actually content on the internet, you can submit your URL and it'll tell you whether or not, or the actual artifact, and it will tell you if AI is trained on this. And I think this is another area of concern, and that is this idea of people have, even if you're not an artist, you may be infringing on artists in that you could do a DALL-E prompt that says, give me an image in the style of Wes Anderson. At that point, you're copying an artist, and that in theory is not allowed. And so these engines need to not even allow you to enter these artist names and then do that likeness. It's possible that you can still get the likeness, but you'd have to develop the keywords to achieve that. But that's a big area of concern. One of the things that we do know, which is a recent decision, and I think this is important for our writing, is that you cannot copyright anything that AI generates. Copyrights have been restricted for human creations. But of course, you can take a first draft of an AI generated thing and move it through a copyright. I found this to be alarming. As of today, there are about a half dozen books being sold on Amazon with my name on them that I did not write or publish. Some huckster generated them using AI. This promises to be a serious problem for the book publishing world. That was kind of a head scratcher. What blew my mind was the response. People keep telling me they bought my newest book that has my name on it, but I didn't write. Some scammer using the find more by this author algorithm. My publisher was unable to make it stop, and I sort of gave up. It's the give up part, I think, that sort of caught my attention. And so what that means is that there's a huge demand for ethical AI. And ethical AI means how it was made. And then on the backside, there's a huge demand for indemnification, i.e., this is your product. I'm licensing it from you. You need to protect me from any of its output being a risk to me. And the two ones on the left and right are kind of leading this charge. Getty Images just basically pivoted their entire businesses. Instead of doing stock photos, now they do generated AI photos. And the genius thing that they did is, if you remember those slides that talked about the training parameters going from 1 billion to 1 trillion, what Getty did is they said, you know what, We're only going to train them on our images. It's nowhere near a billion. But guess what's going to happen? We're going to be 100% protected, and we can indemnify. But more importantly, what they discovered is that since the AI only trained on super high quality stock photography, that's what you think of Getty, that its outputs were already at a higher quality because it was using a smaller set of high quality data. So that's Getty. Adobe Firefly, not quite as strong as Getty in terms of how it'll indemnify you and disclosing how it was trained, but it is providing a commercial license that protects you. All these other disruptors, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, DALL-E, Shutterstock, won't talk about how they train the data. That will go to litigation, and they really won't indemnify you. And so that becomes a challenge for using it beyond just creating decks to present to clients. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot and sort of impacts strategy, impacts go-to-market is this idea of the consumer shopping journey. So this is the old recipe shopping journey. I type in chicken parm recipe, I get a bunch of results. None of them have a recipe. There's no recipe here. There's just links to recipes. So I'm clicking through them. Is there a link that I think fits my bill? I don't know. I'll click on this one. I go to this site, The Cozy Cook. I get this image. Okay, I understand we're going to get some header copy. Now I'm being asked to submit my email address, but I just want a recipe. Make a head method. Okay, no problem. Pro tips. Okay. Storage. I haven't even cooked it yet, but it's already telling me how to store it. And other recipes, I don't really know why I'd want other recipes. I haven't even gotten my recipe yet. And so lo and behold, eventually we get to the recipe. Beautiful. And actually I can print that if I have a printer, and maybe I'm on my way to the grocery store. We're used to doing that. And I think what's important about this is there's an entire economy that happened here. There's an economy that paid Google to put AdWords on. There's an entire economy of content creators that wrote content to get SEO, basically power to become a click in this. And then there are affiliates that are advertising on the recipe site. So there's content creators, SEO, AdWords, an entire engine from this search that we've basically loved for the last 23 years. But now check out this. This is the same company, and this is their Bard product. I'm also going to search for chicken parm. So chicken parm recipe and shopping list. Oh, and look at this. Ingredients. I didn't have to sift through anything. There it is. Instructions. Great. That's clearly what I would want next. Shopping list. How convenient. Optional ingredients and additional tips. Okay. So this is basically this is like a personalized article written just for me. Oh, and guess what? I actually want to save this now. So I'm just going to export it to Google Docs. And then I open up my Google Docs, and here this is. So now I can access this on my phone in the most convenient way possible. I don't have to research in the grocery store. I don't have to take screenshots. This is really powerful and user-friendly, but the implications of it are, what happened to all the content creators? What happened to all the AdWords? What happened to all the SEO? What happened to all the link sharing? What happened to all the affiliates? This new user journey is a significant change. And really what it means is that search is going from keywords to conversations. And it's a big threat to all of the .coms because no one left Bard in that experience. No one went to any of these recipe sites. Instacart's one of the first ones to take this on, and they actually implemented ChatGPT search on their site. So this is items for a 5-year-old's birthday party, and it understands that, and it starts to provide you options across their different catalog of retailers that sort of fulfill this criteria. 2 months ago, if you typed this in Instacart, it would have been results not found because it's not a keyword or a product category. And so the consumer journey is going to continue to evolve, which is going to make the role of the .com different. It's gonna change. Google used to be the front door to every .com, but if the front door never opens, then you need to now do different traffic driving, different user journeys to understand how to get people to your destination. So strategy hacks. This is something that I love. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm going to play it real quick.
My name is Waslu Jaco. aka Lupe Fiasco. I'm a rapper, professor, a lover and friend of words. I'm a data gathering machine. Rap is born out of technology. Rap wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these technological advancements. DJing, for example, in the direct drive, turntables, so you're able to be very accurate with break beats and stuff like that. Microphones, recording studios, now you're able to lay more ideas. You only had one track at one point, now you got 4, or now you got 8, now you got 16, now it's endless. On top of here's all these special effects that you could do now. Here's all these different sounds that are generated through technology, like the 808. 808 is a lot of science and a lot of math and a lot of physics to create that sound that rap takes as its own and like, 808, that's rap. Boom. What's next? Artificial intelligence, large language models, rap's optimal for it.
So you can click right here, and everything in this table is basically...
So I've been working with Google and the Palm API on a large language model powered set of tools that specifically focus on the writing process of creating raps.
So initially, we thought that maybe Lupe would want an AI system to write lyrics for him, verses and raps, but it turns out that he didn't want that at all. What he wanted was a tool that helped him explore the universe of possibilities that can arise from any given word or phrase or concept. In the beginning of our session, we worked with Lupe to sort of extract some of these techniques that he has been developing over the course of 2 decades of writing. But one of the things that Lupe will do is he'll take a word and explode it into all these different phonetic possibilities.
It doesn't have to be anything like super exotic. It could just be like expressway. You're like expressway. And then it starts to just go through the machinery, parsing. How many syllables are in there? How much spin is on way? There's a lot of connotation with way. There's way, W-A-Y, way, W-E-I, which is referencing like Wu Wei, Chinese philosophy about just being, W-E-I-G-H, way, like curds and whey, so now you got this whole dairy thing that's happening, way. Like that's way out, man. And that's just with that N, that suffix. We haven't even gotten to express. Expressway is a road. Then there's like expressing yourself. Espresso, express, like we exclude the newspaper. You got your ex, then it's like an ex-girlfriend, an ex da-da-da-da. And then it goes fling. And that's just me driving, right? Driving down the expressway.
What we did is we assembled a data set of all of these different examples of these word explosions. What MakerSuite makes it really easy to do is go into the example data, add things, remove things, change things around until you get exactly what you're looking for. The result of that is this bite-sized AI tool that can take in any word as input, explode it into all these different possibilities in the same way that Lupe does. And that's just one tool. We built 9 others as well.
It's called text effects. These tools, they generate similes, they create acronyms, they parse words. It's an entire suite of different kind of possibilities dealing with text and language.
So TextFX, I recommend it as a strategy hack. One of the 9 tools is called POV. And so you can enter a term into the POV tool. And in my case, I put in home improvement. But think about whatever brief you're working on. You could be working on an electric vehicle. You could be working on some sort of food item, chicken, you name it. And I went into home improvement. This is just one quick usage. And it just starts spitting out POVs. Home improvement projects are the adult equivalent of playing with Legos. Home improvement projects are the perfect way to procrastinate from doing actual work. Home improvement projects are a great way to stress yourself out and ruin your weekends. Home improvement projects are a great way to make your house look like a Pinterest fail or make your house look like a Pinterest board. Home improvements are a great way to learn new skills and drive your spouse crazy. There's a lot of opportunity for insights generation through this tool, and I recommend it. Here's another one. I'm pretty sure I got this on the internet. I'm pretty sure it came from Julian Cole. I've used it, and it's basically, give me 10 cliches about X. Now turn those cliches on their head. EVs are silent killers. EVs are only for the wealthy. Charging is a hassle. They're slow. They aren't green because they use dirty electricity. Batteries run out. Battery disposal is an environmental nightmare. EVs are just a trend. They can't handle long trips. Electric cars are boring. These are pretty good cliches. So now turning them on their heads, you might be able to do a better job of turning them on their heads. But again, this is a first draft. EVs are whisper quiet guardians of peace. EVs, vehicles for every pocket. Charge while you chill. Lightning fast electric. Green charging is in your hands. Smart range for smart journeys. Batteries paving way to sustainability. EVs future mobility. Exploring horizons with electric adventures. And electrifying rides and sparking joy. I mean, I kind of love this first one. EVs are whisper quiet guardians of peace, as sort of a twist on this notion that they don't have sound and therefore they don't have the car sort of culture. And then charge while you chill is, again, it's a way of turning maybe a liability that came through a cliche into a strength. One last thing, research. This is a 10-page PDF, or it's a 9-page PDF. Pretty standard strategist. We have to get up to speed. Sometimes we need to read a bunch of these to get smart quick. And I find that to be challenging. Well, introducing Chat with Any PDF. This is chatpdf.com. And basically what you do is you go to Chat PDF, you upload your PDF research paper, in this case, the consumer journey, blah, blah, blah. And then it parses it. Let's pause here. So it parsed it and then immediately basically gave me an intro and then offered 3 things to kind of dive in. Here are things you might want to ask me. What are the disruptive forces that are expected to change the consumer sector in the next 15 years? Okay, well, let's click on that. What are the forces? Well, Chat PDF will tell you, since it has the knowledge of the document, and now it's telling you the disruptive forces. I clicked on the next one about how companies in the retail and CPG sectors are adapting to changing consumer behaviors. One of the things that's in here is I can't remember. In one of these, it's talking about the aging, basically aging, and how the population is aging. And so what I did, just kind of finish this, is I asked it a follow-up question, not one that it prompted me, because you can have a conversation. It's just these questions it's giving you is just like getting you on board on the article. So then I asked it a specific question. Tell me more about X, whatever you were just telling me, in this case, about the aging population. And then according to the PDF file, the aging population is one of the trends that will shape the consumer sector in the next 15 years, blah, 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 blah. So this is pretty powerful research tool that when you think about what we as strategists do, I consider myself one as well, research insights. The first draft of research and the first draft of insights cannot be what your previous draft was. So I'll end with this. And that is, the reality is that I don't think AI is going to come take your jobs, but I think you with AI need to replace the old you. And so we're entering the AI assisted era. We're partnering with AI, not yet competing with it. We need to operate more like editors, generating a first draft in ways that are faster, smarter, and more creative, using a mix of AI tools and a steady stream of inputs and outputs. And now the result is you with all your human powered creativity, wisdom, and uniqueness, but now with more of it. And it doesn't just apply to strategists, it applies to all knowledge workers, which is why I think this is such a retooling moment for all of us. It doesn't matter if you're in your first year of your career or you're in your 25th year of your career. We're all kind of in the same boat at the moment. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy sharing this so much with you guys. So I'm going to pause there and take any questions.
Ivan, there is a question in the chat from Susie asking if you would provide a list of all these. She missed the
Yes. And the insights one, just to clarify it, it's called TextFX with Google.com. And the other one is conveniently named Chat PDF. It's a great name. Well, if you guys don't have questions, I have questions for you. How are you guys? How is this? So what kind of conversation can you have with the manager who is risk averse or AI averse? Well, I think that the conversation might start with, hey, there is a feeling out period that's happening right now through probably 2024, where a lot of tools are coming on the market and they are accelerating the way we can do work and accelerating what we might achieve in a first draft. And we stand to gain from it and stand to fall behind if we're not experimenting and forming a point of view around that. And even worse, if you really want to use scare tactics, is like, hey, we're in a business where we get paid for people hours. And clients are going to start asking us, where are the efficiencies in my retainer based on your usage of AI? And those are conversations that the people that have adopted, they might have a better answer than the people that haven't. And the people that have adopted might come back and say, well, actually, there are no savings, but here's how it's being impacted. And I think those are things that we want to get ahead of at the doer level and the managerial level. So do you feel obligated to credit or source AI tools if they are used in any way in a strategy you're presenting? I do not. I've adopted the first draft modality, and I can tell you that I'm also very comfortable that how much something evolves from that first draft is such that I just feel comfortable with that. I also saw a quote that was really cool. Someone was saying, how do you know if someone did a math problem using a calculator or not? And the answer was like, who cares? Like, it's a calculator is a technology that is just part of culture. And if you're not using a calculator, you're just doing it the hard way. And I think that it won't be too long before this notion of, well, did you use any AI to arrive at your point of view would be the equivalent of like, did you use a calculator to do that multiplication problem? It'll be who cares.
There is a question from Patrick. What AI platform pulls the most recent data?
I think Bard is the one that's actually connected to the internet. And there's a version of ChatGPT, the ChatGPT 4, which costs $20 a month, that now is connected to the internet as well. So you can submit URLs and it'll go and spider it. But I think that's something that, again, was first half of this year. The training sets only went up to a certain date, and those are softening. And now these things are fully connected to the internet, and we'll have, up to the latest and greatest information.
Okay, we got 2 more questions. Do we know the time frame of training data for the text FX tool?
That I don't know, but I can tell you that I feel like that one, I guess from a cultural standpoint, for points of view, it may not know certain things that have happened recently in culture, but since it's so much about wordsmithing and just classic kind of like word creation, and I'm not sure it's dependent on that quite as much, but I'm guessing it uses one of Google's LLMs, and this is just a front end for it. So my sense is that it's pretty up to date. I think all these big tech companies are pretty focused on this.
Okay, and for our last question from Nina, best image or video one strategist could use?
So for strategists, a great question. I would say DALL-E for images. And I say that only because it's not the best. The best is Midjourney, but I truly believe you need to be a designer to use it in a way that's effective. It just has a tough UI. It's like telling you to go use Photoshop. That might be overkill. DALL-E has just a very familiar submit the prompt, get the image. And I think that's much more comfortable for someone that doesn't have an art background. And then for video, depends on the video, but that Hey Jen that I sent is an interesting one. And then another one called Runway. But again, some of these are bordering on becoming tools for people that are in video versus becoming tools for novices to get to video. I think image is the first sort of non-subject matter expertise area to dive into for comps, and DALL-E would be my recommendation.
Okay, well, that looks like all the questions, which is perfect because we are at 1:30, which is the end of this session. Thank you, Ivan. This was fantastic.
You got it.
Always learn a lot from you. For everybody else, the live stream will resume back at 1:40 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to pop the link in the chat. You guys should have it because you came from there, but I'll pop the link from the chat and we'll see you there.
Thanks, everybody. Happy to be connected in any way. If you have any follow-up questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. Take care.